plans for border wall construction advance for the Rio Grande Valley, we explain how one symbolic attribute may potentially be in danger. UTRGV and the City of Harlingen announce a plan for expansion. We give you an update on the Dream Center and where it stands today. And Festiba returns with cultural events and competitions attracting hundreds. Plus, UTRGV and TSC partnered to welcome this year's Mr. Amigo, and our Spotlight of the Month features Supervising Clinical Therapist Adelia Wieland. We have all this and more. UTRGV-TV starts now. Thank you for joining us for this week's UTRGV-TV edition. I'm Rocio Villalobos. For this week's top story, as plans for border wall construction advance for the Rio Grande Valley, one symbolic attribute may potentially be in danger. UTRGV-TV reporter Marisol Villarreal explains.
An afternoon with an ocelot. That's the name of the event that the Friends of Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge hosted at the Longhorn Cattle Company barbecue and steak restaurant in San Benito. The owner of the restaurant told UTRGV-TV off-camera that this is the first time that anything like this has been done.
The very few places where you can find wild ocelots in the United States is in Cameron County and Willacy County in South Texas. That's it. They used to extend all the way up until Arkansas and into Oklahoma. And so there's only about 80 left that we're aware of.
Thomas DeMar works with the Gladys Porter Zoo and the citizen-run organization Friends of Laguna Atascosa. During the 50s and 60s, he says the ocelot population suffered in numbers when they were hunted for their exotic coat for fashion. Ocelots began entering the endangered species list in 1980 by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is here just in support of our Friends group, who does a great job to support the refuge. One good thing about a location like this is that we're hitting a group of citizens that we normally wouldn't talk to.
For the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, an agency of the U.S. federal government, they normally speak to birders, anglers, or hunting fishing advocates. Educating the people of South Texas of their unique heritage with ocelots brings hope for conserving the exotic species.
So our real goal and the goal of the Friends group is let people see these amazing animals, let them appreciate and understand how fabulous they are, that they're right here, and that should be a real source of pride for, the citizens of the Rio Grande Valley. And we really want them to take pride in having enough habitat to sustain this remarkable species.
It's important for the community to understand that ocelots are still relevant today. TxDOT is working with the Refuge, Fish and Wildlife, and the Friends organizations to provide road crossings and underground tunnels for wild animals to walk through. One current project is on Highway 100 between Los Fresnos and Laguna Vista. Once the community pushes for ocelot conservation, then other situations that decrease their population, such as the border wall entering their natural habitats, could potentially recognize their importance.
Barriers are not good for wildlife in any way. Whether you're talking about ocelots or black bears or indigo snakes or Texas tortoises, any type of barrier through a wild environment will be an obstacle for natural genetic spread, natural animal movements. So yes, I would think that a wall is a bad idea.
In San Benito, Marisol Villarreal reporting for UTRGV-TV.
UTRGV and the City of Harlingen announced plans to expand the university's presence in the city. Harlingen currently hosts the Clinical Education Building, which serves medical students. The new expansion is set to be built on Hale Drive and will aid the Harlingen School District's early college program. High school students will have the opportunity to take dual enrollment classes and earn college credit through the facility. The first construction on the project is expected to be completed by 2021. UTRGV's Dream Resource Center is in place to provide DACA recipients and undocumented students a location for their needs. Our chief reporter, Nathaniel Puente, has more details.
Many students at UTRGV are on DACA or are undocumented completely, and while they have the same test to pass and the same classes to take, they experience college in quite a different way.
The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, is a policy in place to help undocumented students attend college. To qualify for DACA, students must be under the age of 31 as of 2012, have lived in the United States since 2007, came to the United States when they were under 16, and several other strict factors.
So I have to keep a certain GPA.
Lisbeth Lopez, a DACA student, told us about the struggles of being in the program.
I have to take more classes than the minimum. I also have to work. My parents, they can't work, and so taking on school and work makes it very stressful.
On top of having to pass classes, Lopez has to deal with those who oppose her being here.
What's some discrimination you have faced as an undocumented student?
A lot of people say, like, why did your parents, well, not me in particular, but why did these people bring their children here if that was illegal? But if my parents never did that, I wouldn't be having the education that I am today.
To make minority-grouped students feel more welcomed, the university implemented the Dream Resource Center. The goal of the center, located on both Edinburgh and Brownsville campuses, is to make students feel like they belong.
One of the main purposes is to assist students who are either undocumented or have DACA to feel a little bit more comfortable, to be tied to the university, to be part of the community here at the university.
The university encourages all students to apply to college regardless of their immigration status. Reporting for UTRGV-TV, I'm Nathaniel Puente.
Festiba is back with events and competition that bring the community and university together to celebrate literacy and the Mexican-American culture in the Valley. Our reporter Renata Cruz has the story.
All of these are opportunities for the students to realize that they have talent and that they can be creative, that they can tell their stories in different ways, and also to be very proud of their cultural background.
The mariachi festivities for Festiba kicked off this past weekend at the UTRGV Performing Arts Complex. Every year, hundreds of mariachi students from across the Rio Grande Valley attend the workshops and competition. Take a look at this video. Our assistant station manager, Juliana Quiroz, captured this video of the competition. Among the invited were Maestro Jose Hernandez, internationally known as a founder and director for Mariachi Sol de Mexico and Mariachi Reina de Los Angeles. The event concluded with the mariachi concert featuring the first place vocal competition winners, the group winners in the middle school level, and the first place winners at the 4A, 5A, and 6A high school varsity levels. UTRGV and TSC partnered to welcome Mr. Amigo to the Rio Grande Valley. Here's UTRGV-TV's Noticias en Español. Como parte de charreada en UTRGV y TSC, el señor Amigo de 2018 fue presentado a una multitud de cientos de personas en el TSC Performing Arts Complex el jueves pasado.
Unless you live on the border, you really do not understand what it's like to have such a great relationship with your neighbor.
Cada año, durante los últimos 55 años, se ha elegido a un nuevo señor amigo de México en función de la dedicación de la persona a mejorar la calidad de vida de la comunidad hispana y de servir como modelo para los ciudadanos de México y los Estados Unidos.
Creo que es muy emocionante para la comunidad llegar a nuestras ciudades hermanas y esto es solo un gran evento para la comunidad y para los niños. Es muy agradable ver a todos sonreír y divertirse.
El empresario Arturo Elias Ayub fue nombrado el Señor Amigo 2018 por su trabajo filantrópico con la Fundación Telmex. Fue honrado y celebrado con varias actuaciones de canciones y bailes, así como con regalos de estudiantes y profesores de TSC. Entre los artistas se encontraba el Mariachi Siete Leguas, un grupo conocido en todo el Valle de Río Grande. UTRGV adoptó la charreada en 2016, asociándose con TSC, la ciudad de Brownsville y la asociación de Mr. Amigo. El señor Amigo compartió algunos consejos para ayudar a los estudiantes a alcanzar el éxito.
Nunca pierdan la humildad, deben de siempre soñar hasta el cielo, pero dejar los pies en la tierra.
Reportando en Brownsville para UTRGV-TV, Rocío Villalobos. And here's this week's sports highlights with our station manager, Ileana Luna.
For this week's sports highlights, we've got both the men and women's tennis lined up and women's basketball recent game against Kansas City. First up, women's tennis closes a tough match against University of Houston Saturday, March 2nd. The women's team were leading in doubles by seniors Marine Derizan and Dominique Ibarra in a 6-4 win over Houston. And women's freshman team, Sandra Putz and Katrina Sasaroga, the girls clinched the 6-4 win over Houston. It was going well for our girls, but Houston fought back in its single matches that won on courts 2, 6, and 5. In court 4, it was the University of Houston that ultimately won the last match by making 4 straight wins in total. Next up, we have our men's tennis who face UTSA Saturday, March 2nd. First up, UTRGV earned its only point while playing singles by junior Mateo Smith. Smith later fell behind in the match, dropping his first set 1-6. And freshman George Hudgings also saw his match go to 3 sets against UTSA on court 2. UTSA then answered back with wins on court 3, 4, and 6 and took the 1-0 lead into singles after winning doubles courts 1 and 3. Next up, women's basketball took on Kansas City Saturday, March 2nd. The anticipated game that featured 11 lead changes and 9 ties in the second half. Senior Quinn Hudgens scores 18 points with 4 rebounds, and sophomore Amara Graham scored 11 points with 3 assists. Graduate student Madison Northcutt scores her 10th double-double with 10 points and 16 rebounds. And senior Nichelle Hyman tops the girls' win with 10 points. And here's a few words from head coach Lane Lord.
Just a great basketball game, very good team, UMKC, and with one of the best players in the league. And we really played well down the stretch, made big shots and made some huge stops, and I couldn't be more proud of our seniors. And you know, they didn't have to give us the effort they've given us this year. You got a new coach, you got a whole new staff, and all they've done is buy in, and we've gotten better and better as the years gone on. I'm just real proud of them.
That was the girls' 10th conference win, 67-64. That does it for this week's sports highlights, but to keep up to date on the latest with tickets and games, visit goutrgv.com for the latest. Reporting for sports, Ileana Luna.
And here's this week's police reports, released to us this past week by UTRGV PD. On February 25th, a female student reported that her non-affiliated ex-boyfriend was harassing her via telephone while on the Edinburgh campus. She also reported receiving text messages from her ex-boyfriend threatening to release sexually explicit photos of her to her friends without her consent. The case is under investigation. That same day, a male student reported being assaulted by another male student during a basketball game at the UREC on the Edinburgh campus. The male student reported that the suspect punched him in the face and the back of his neck, causing him pain. The case is under investigation. On February 26th, officers assisted U.S. Border Patrol with the suspicious non-affiliated male juvenile in the area of 1900 block West University in Brownsville. U.S. Border Patrol took custody of the male juvenile. And on February 27th, an officer responded to the Student Health Center on the Edinburgh campus in reference to an injured male student. The student stated he fell while riding his skateboard along the covered walkway, injuring his left elbow and face. The student refused EMS and received treatment at Student Health. And for this week's Spotlight of the Month, our assistant station manager sat down with Supervising Clinical Therapist Adelia Wieland from the Edinburgh Counseling Center.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Spotlight of the Month. And for this Spotlight, we've invited Adelia Wieland. She's the Supervising Clinical Therapist at the Edinburgh Counseling Center. First, thank you so much for being here with us today. And briefly, just tell us about the Counseling Center. Maybe some people out there don't even know that it might exist here at UTRGV. Just tell us about its functions.
Sure. So the UTRGV Counseling Center provides free counseling to any enrolled UTRGV student. All they have to do is just call us to make an appointment, and they can come in if they need any help or extra support. And we have a location here on the Edinburgh campus and also on the Brownsville campus.
And so, because we've seen a correlation in police reports that are usually released to us in things that are related to suicide, we wanted to bring you in to talk about the suicide prevention program that you all offer in collaboration with the School of Medicine. So could you tell us more about that?
Yes, so that is a grant-funded program that's funded through SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, and it's also funded by the Garrett Lee Smith program. And so that grant, what it really does is help us build skills to teach other people how to maybe talk to someone who might be considering suicide, and also provide support for students that are in need. The main thing with that grant is we provide a training that's called QPR, which stands for Question, Persuade, Refer. So that's a gatekeeper training. Anybody, a student, faculty, staff, community member can be trained in that. And that just teaches you that maybe you deal with someone who might be considering suicide. So it helps give you skills on how to talk to that person about how they're feeling. And then also, most importantly, how to connect them with maybe a professional if that's what they need.
Okay, and we know that this grant was only given to our university, the only university in Texas. Do you know why that is?
I think that reason is just because we have a unique situation here at UTRGV with the brand new medical school that just opened. And within that medical school of medicine, there's a wellness program, and they have a particular interest in suicide prevention, not just with school of medicine students, but just with the general student population.
And so let's go more into the symptoms of maybe those that might have suicidal ideations. What are the signs we should look out for? Maybe we have friends or family members. What can we do to prevent any casualties from happening?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different signs that you can look for, kind of like red flags that you might watch out for. Some of them are the more common ones. So any verbal signs of suicide, such as, some people might say, I'm thinking about killing myself. That's obviously a very big red flag. But the other kind of maybe more subtle verbal signs, hints that people might be thinking about it, they might say stuff like, I just don't want to be here anymore. My family might be better off without me. Or getting any access to lethal means, like looking for guns or hoarding pills, things like that. And really, too, any sudden change in behavior. So maybe they used to want to go out with you all the time, they used to text you back, and now they're just wanting to withdraw and kind of isolate. That's another sign. Or just a big sudden change from maybe they were an A to B student and now they're really struggling with their grades, struggling with their sleep. Sudden changes in behavior, another warning sign.
Okay, so if we see all these warning signs, what's the first thing we should do?
So the first thing that you should do is, it's okay to ask the question. I think a lot of people are worried about asking that question because it is a very heavy question, and they might feel, oh, I can't ask them, have you been having thoughts of wanting to kill yourself, because then I'm going to put that idea in their head. Not true. That's a myth. It's not Inception here. You're not going to do that. So it's okay to just ask the question, and you can normalize it. Hey, it seems like you've really been struggling lately. Have you had any thoughts about wanting to kill yourself? And if they're not, and hopefully they'll be honest with you, right? But if they are, that really helps reduce the shame and stigma, which I think is so huge with people who are struggling with suicide. And so just opening up that question is you showing them you're there to support them and help them and not judge them. So let's say they say, yes, I've really been struggling, and then maybe you're not really sure what to do with that information, right? So you can always recommend that they come to the counseling center. So if a student is in crisis and is having those suicidal thoughts, they can always walk into our counseling center. We're there Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 at both campuses.
Okay, so could you give us, again, I know you said to call the counseling center or go to the counseling center. Could you give us the locations and phone numbers?
Yes, so the Edinburgh Campus Counseling Center is at the University Center, and we're at room 109. And then the phone number to call is 956-665-2574. And you can find all this information online too. If you just go to the UTRGV website and search Counseling Center, you'll find information for both campuses on that website.
Okay, thank you so much. And so just to conclude, what is your message maybe to those right now that might be watching, or maybe those that might be watching and they know of someone that are having these sort of thoughts, what would you like to say to them?
Yeah, for anyone that's out there that's maybe struggling with suicidal thoughts or having these thoughts and not wanting to live anymore, I just really want to say that there's always hope. And I know that you might feel that there's no hope in your situation, and that's understandable because we all struggle sometimes, but please know that we're here to help and support you, and really just open up to anyone, any person that you trust. Just let them know. I know there's a lot of shame and stigma around suicide and having those thoughts, but a lot of people have those thoughts. It's understandable when you're feeling really overwhelmed. And I just heard a quote one time that kind of makes me think of this. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And although the problem may not feel temporary to you, please just know that you can get through this. And, I wouldn't be in this profession if I didn't believe in hope. So just reach out for support. That's my number one recommendation.
Okay, thank you so much for your words. Thank you for taking your time here to be with us today. Hopefully some of our viewers will go ahead and use this information for good. Thank you so much again for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
This is our Spotlight of the Month.
That's all we have for you today. But remember, if you have a story you would like for us to know about, or know someone who is making an impact on campus or in the community, you can contact us through our social media or email us at utrgvtv@gmail.com. We have community and UTRGV news for you every week. See you next time.